today we're going to talk about Waltons music store, which was in Frederick Street. It's now closed in Frederick Street. There was one on Georgia Street. There was one, I think, out in Dunleary. But now there's one in Blanchardstown. But you're going to give us a bit of history and go ahead there.
That's right. Waltons, I remember, was in North Frederick Street for years. And as a matter of fact, when Radio Ireland had sponsored programmes when I was young in the 50s, 60s, there were sponsored programmes starting from 1 o'clock. I think they went on to have 2 or 3. And Waltons had one sponsored programme on a Saturday, and it was hosted by Leo Maguire. And one of their favourite quotes that he come out with, along with promoting Charlie McGee, the famous singer from Donegal, and some other lad they used to promote, they used to sing Loch Sheelan, Sandy Shores, which is in County Cavan, Meath, Westmeath and all that, lovely lake with islands on it, a beautiful lake. But he used to have a song about that, and one of his favourite quotations at the end of it was, "If you feel like singing, do sing an Irish song." Now, it was the only programme that I recall that phrase being used, and it was a Saturday afternoon when one was looking forward to the weekend, because if you were working them times, you had to work a half day on a Saturday. So you let the hair down then, and you were listening to the sponsored programme with a bit of a spring in your step, because the world was your oyster. It was what I call the golden age in Ireland. Now for people in business, it was perhaps singing from a different tune, because in the 50s and 60s, there always seemed to be some kind of a crisis. There was awful lot of strikes for some reason or other. If there wasn't shipping strikes, there was other strikes. And so business was always under pressure. There's no question or doubt about it. Anybody in business would need to be more of an optimist than a pessimist. Well, a pessimist would have taken the ship, the mailboat as they call it, and headed off to England, where he might be guaranteed a weekly salary, irrespective of what way the economy was going. This country, the country always seemed to be on the brink of disaster. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Now, by the way, Waltons was founded in 1922 by Mr. Walton. Can't think of his first name, but I wonder was it Michael? But he was a bodyguard for our famous leader, General Michael Collins, that famous man that negotiated independence for the Irish Republic in Britain as a plenipotentiary, when it was De Valera's duty to go to London as the First Minister at the time. But he made these ones plenipotentiaries, and then he objected to what they came home with, which was very good, a very good solution for Ireland, and gave us independence. Now, this man's grandfather that started Waltons was a bodyguard for Michael Collins. So he was real Irish, and that's why Leo Maguire, when he was doing the sponsored programmes, there was Irish music, and I think they had their own record label. Can't think now what it was. It would have been something with an Irish ring to it. And they played traditional Irish tunes. And funny enough, there was plenty of other sponsored programmes, but the gas part of it is, it's Waltons, I remember. Even though I think I recall it being someone's ridiculing it. Now, I wasn't one of that brigade myself. But funny enough, thanks be to God, I had an independent mind in that respect. And I liked it. I just liked what he was stood for. And I've always liked that. And I realise now that one of the descendants of Waltons, when they were in North Frederick Street, which was their main place, saying that business was tough. And the grandfather told him, which I think is very true, that tough. He says, when we started, there was wars, he says, but they're sooner in business when there was the economic war with Mr. De Valera and Britain. He nearly starved us to death in the country, and we had nothing. You couldn't get a price for an animal because no matter what way you did, no matter how many prayers you yapped, So I don't know how anybody could stay in business, but they did. And then before they could sort of bless themselves and hope that everything was going hunky-dory, you had a war with Hitler. And more trouble.
You had the Wall Street crash as well.
Oh, that was before, correct, I forgot about that, you see, because there's so many catastrophes and, business being affected seriously. Because, like, they would have been hoping for American tourists to become coming back with Irish music, which they were supplying. And here, because that market must have drove up. Don't forget the Lusitania was sunk, which is an American ship, and that brought them into the war. It was sunk off Cork. By a U-boat.
I just want to read out something there that I found online there about it's to do with Mr. Walton's grandson complained to him in the 1970s that business was tough, and he said to him he said he reminded me that when he opened in 1922, O'Connell Street was in ruins after the war. Then there was the Wall Street crash, De Valera's economic war on England, and in 1938 Hitler came along. Then it was 6 years of survival during the war. Another 10 to 15 years for the world to recover. A few easy years in the 1960s, and then the oil crisis in the 1970s. Correct. You couldn't ask for a worse couple of years.
And one of the other things that happened in the 70s, which is not referred to there was a bank strike.
Yeah.
And it lasted for 6 months. So that bank strike, there was a famous shipping company in Eden Quay called Palgrave Murphy, and long established company. And when that bank strike was over, they were gone wallop. And H. Williams was a supermarket group, an independent Irish supermarket group, and they had offered thousands of pounds with these checks. So there was all sorts of goings on to try and have everybody afloat, because everybody was really sick and under a weight of debts because business was shocking bad. I think they were dependent on turf to drive vehicles. So can you picture the scene? I believe there was a fella going around in Hudson, because I worked in my first job was in a garage, a Semler's garage in Westland Row or Lombard Street, and it was called a Semler's because they used to assemble the Hudson, which was an American car, a big car, but there was a lad going around and driving that, but he had a baby Ford engine in the front, so he would be lucky if he could do about 15 miles an hour, and there was no rush because he's this big car for a baby Ford engine. And some of the vehicles were driven on turf, so can you visualise the scene? All it was in the doldrums, and I mean in the doldrums, people had their trousers had to be patched. They couldn't buy a new pair of trousers.
Yeah.
And socks, forget about socks, they were darned until Big God nearly was full of darning. People knew how to knit and all the rest of it. And they were mending shoes also. Fathers was mending shoes. They had glass and they were hammering nails into shoes, so you could be a foot off the ground with what they were at. So this was Waltons. Now, how they stayed in business is a mystery to John Malone, because I never saw such trouble in the world as happened in the 60s and 70s with strikes and the devil knows what. And there was electricity strikes as well. So you might have no lights. So when people come in, they might have to shine a torch, see who you were. Do you get the picture?
Yeah.
Unless you had plenty of skylights. Now, so with all the pressure, they're still going, thank God. They're out in Blanchardstown now, and I could say a lot more about them, but they're out in Blanchardstown, and we had the pleasure, although we inquired on the internet and here, there and yonder, it turns out, be goodness, to have the equipment we're looking for in Waltons, a good Irish store, and we made substantial purchases there and got great advice from the staff there that knows their business. I suggest that anybody that's in the information business or any other type of business of that calibre needing equipment, visit Waltons and you won't go astray. They'll put you right. Visit Irish stores if you want to get good advice.
That's it. I mean, we were up there, and I actually went online. One of the things the Waltons have said is online. I've read it on the Irish Times, I think it was. They said that the reason they closed the shops in the city centre was, one, the rental prices were too high.
Correct.
And the second thing was that people are buying these products on the internet. Now, my experience of trying to get musical equipment on the internet, because I'm into technological music and I'm into sound recording and for interviews like this. Now, we're not using the equipment today that we got in Waltons because it's not set up and I have to learn how to use the gadgets. But when I was up in Waltons, I spent a couple of weeks looking for stuff on the internet, couldn't get the right answers, went on the forums, couldn't get the right answers. But then I walked into Waltons in Blanchardstown and I met Bill, the manager, and his knowledge about sound and sound engineering is absolutely superb. Okay?
Exactly, and you won't get it anywhere else, will you?
You won't. So he was able to tell me within a half hour. Okay, first of all, I spoke to him on the phone.
What you
Found
need.
him very, very, very impressive. Went into the store. He was able to tell me exactly what I need. Within a half hour, I knew exactly what I wanted. Okay, and then there was Nathan, who's also very knowledgeable. Nathan is a young guy who works. And he plays the guitar. I think that's the instrument he plays. But the good thing about Waltons is that the staff, each member of staff has their own little section. For example, Bill seems to be into sound and sound recording. Nathan was into the guitars. He could talk to you about guitars. So they
And
seem
teaches music.
yeah, they seem to have. Yeah, did you say the ukulele?
It is, but he was teaching the banjo and something else, but he's teaching now an instrument that heretofore he wasn't.
Yeah.
But now he's versatile, he's able to pick up instruments and learn how to play them. He's probably a very good guitarist and some, I think there's 3 instruments that he's teaching.
Yeah.
And he's teaching, which is great. So they're versatile, they know their stuff when you go in, depending on what you're looking for. We certainly were very satisfied with what we purchased, and hopefully they'll be used and improve the quality of what we have to say to our supporters in the Christian and Jobs Action Party. And I'm glad to see that they're improving all the time.
Absolutely.
And long may it continue, because these are the people that we're trying to help, to show that we're not all singing from the secular hymn sheet.
Well, see, that's the thing. But after my experience, anyway, of actually buying in Waltons and meeting the staff, I wouldn't buy musical equipment or any kind of equipment for sound online, because the quality of what you get in the store is just amazing.
It is, and it's superb.
Yeah.
Plus the advice, so you're not going to be buying a pig in a poke.
Absolutely.
Many a person buys stuff on the internet and it's not actually what they wanted, but it appears to be, because they're buying from brochures or something. Don't waste your hard-earned money on such a waste of time. Go into a local store and spend your money locally, for goodness sake, and talk to the experts.
It was actually Waltons and Frederick Street. I used to go there as a kid because I used to live in the North Circle Road, and I used to walk down to Frederick Street. And it's actually Waltons and Frederick Street is where I learned how to play the piano.
Good man,
I
and you're quite good at it. You
Yeah.
have to pay by year.
Because I couldn't afford the piano, right? So there was a few places. Okay, so there was Waltons and Frederick Street that I used to go in there. What I used to do is, so that I wouldn't bother each shop too much, I'd go round to all of them. So what happened was, right, I'd start off in Walton Street, right? North Frederick Street in Waltons. I'd spend 15 minutes there, right, hammering out the piano. And then I would make my way into the ILAC Centre. This is in the 80s. And I'd go into McNeve's. McNeve's was a keyboard
That's
store.
right, yeah.
Okay?
I think I remember that.
And then I would head up to Suffolk Street to McCullum Pickett's.
That's right.
And they had a beautiful, big, huge store. And upstairs
Indeed,
you had all these
indeed.
beautiful grand pianos. You could have pianos
So
there
you were playing
that
away.
were worth probably 50,000 to 100,000 euros. So I'd go in there, and that's where I actually bought my first keyboard, which I still have. I have a keyboard now, it's 31 years old.
Lovely.
And it still works.
Well, there you are, the quality was in it, isn't that right?
Yeah. And then what happened was, Waltons opened a store in George Street. And I started going in there then. And then up the road, it was Dan Fay. Dan Fay was up in George Street. That was another place. I think
It was
that's
a piano place.
It was kind of more a mixture of keyboards and a few
Yeah,
other
but funny
things.
enough, there was quite a few family stores knocking about.
There
They're
was,
gone,
yeah,
regretfully.
absolutely.
And we've all these monstrosities of multiples that actually there's nobody fit to give you advice at all about anything.
Well, it was very sad. It was very sad to see McCullough Pickett's gone.
Of course it was.
You know,
I
because
remember them well.
They all. One thing I
They
would
had a
say.
great name. As a matter of fact, I think they had a sponsor programme as well.
Yeah, the music shops in Dublin. What I can say about them all is they're very like the butcher shops. It was a very personal experience.
Correct.
When you go in, they have a chat with you, okay, as if
They
you
knew who you were.
They knew who you
You were a customer whose name they knew.
Exactly.
And they knew the family. That was so-and-so getting on, I hope he's studying his books, or
Yeah,
she's studying, you know, I see them running around, and they were able to sort of, they knew who was who.
So
That's a great lack in the community.
I think they still have the music school overhead, the old George Street store, as far as I know.
Long may they live, and if you do feel like singing, do sing an Irish song. I think we'll finish up on that. That happy note about Waltons. Long may they survive, and stores like them. We recommend, if you want to know anything musical or any other sort of a product to do with that, hop into Waltons in Blanchardstown.
Yes, excellent. Thank you very much, John.
You're most welcome.